Punishment in EToH towers can range from net heaven where falling doesn't really matter, to instantly ending your run if you fall anywhere. It's always been an unsolvable debate on whether punishing towers are better or if we should stick to adding safety nets. The game started off as a way to challenge you, and as the years went on, towers slowly started offering a more forgiving experience, but is that necessarily a bad thing? Some people see safety nets as a good thing, but others believe the opposite. They think that punishment adds to the fun of the tower, and it really depends on everything. So as a tower builder myself, I'll analyze the pros and cons of punishment and draw a conclusion from there. But first, let's begin with some history, specifically in 2018. Tower of Heck had just released, and man was it punishing. Falling would send you back many floors, if not to the bottom. Most towers during that time period were like this, until EToH had the innovative idea of adding a safety net to their tower, which made Tower of Overcoming Hatred the first tower ever to have a safety net. Other forgiving towers popped up soon after, but most towers are still punishing. Look at Tower of True Skill, Tower of Eternal Suffering, or Tower of Thinning Layers. All of these towers send you back pretty far if you fall, but when exactly did this stop? Let's skip to 2021 when Zone 5 released. Almost half of the towers here are fully netted, which is an insane amount compared to the eras before. And since then, we got used to forgiving towers, almost forgetting that back in the day, a fail would actually feel like something significant, and not just another extra minute of loop filling. So that begs the question, are punishing towers really better, or are they becoming less common for a reason? Let's start it off simple by analyzing the pros and cons of both, starting with punishing towers. Naturally, when there's more consequences to falling, you feel more stress, and I'm gonna be honest, I love that feeling when a tower keeps me on my toes with a punishing section. But those consequences to falling could also ruin your experience with the tower, because falling and having to redo the entire tower up to that point could get somewhat tedious, but in turn that makes it feel so rewarding to beat a punishing tower. Way more rewarding than a forgiving one, which brings us over to the pros and cons of forgiving towers. Like I said, it doesn't feel as rewarding to do these. For one, these towers force you to keep your run so you don't lose your progress, and safety nets make you loop fail for a while. Both of these things cause runs to be up to multiple hours long, and by the end of the run you don't even feel anything because of how exhausting the experience was. But I think that's enough cons. One of the pros is that sometimes the presence of a safety net is better. For example, if the gameplay is really inconsistent or janky, which could cause unfair fails if there was an insta-kill below. So now that we've analyzed both cases, is there an answer to the age-old question of which one is better? Like I said before, the answer depends on everything, like the quality of the tower, the length, the gameplay style, and the tower's purpose. This makes it practically impossible to define an objective answer, or an answer that works for every single tower, because every builder has their own goals for their towers. Some want their tower to be a more grindy experience, and some want it to be a long one-time experience. But when exactly does punishment work in a tower? I think we can all agree that punishing the player for failing inconsistent gameplay is pretty bad, and that's actually the main reason a lot of people dislike Tower of Bloodthirsty Kinos. But when the gameplay is smooth and consistent, punishment actually improves the tower. For example, Tower of Wildly Wacky Wonders, a tower loved by many, and for a good reason. This tower's gameplay is very consistent, which makes every fail feel like a learning experience and not the tower's fault. Another tower that does pretty much the same thing is Tower of Astral Eclipse, also featuring a lot of consistent and punishing gameplay. Wanna know what these two have in common? They're kinda short, so getting back to where you fell doesn't take too long. But you know what isn't short? Tower of Totht Time. Tower of Totht Time is also a very consistent and punishing tower, but the difference is that this one is over an hour long, which could make it feel somewhat tedious. In my opinion, this isn't much of an issue because the gameplay is good, but I have heard varying opinions, so do this at your own risk. With all of that said, I feel like I have to clarify that there are some towers that just simply don't work as a punishing tower. A very good example of this is Tower of Nothing New. The purpose of this tower is to be a long experience tower, and the gameplay is just really learning and inconsistent, so playing this over an insta-kill would be genuinely horrible. But the way it is now, with the safetiness, make it what it is. Another exception is the Starlight Archives. Everybody complains about how the towers are too long and loop faily, but you also have to look at the bright side. At least the towers aren't punishing, cause could you even imagine going through the same dialogue 20 times before you finally beat the tower? Yeah, the towers like they are don't seem as bad now, do they? But wait, there's one thing that I've been purposefully avoiding this entire time. Danger illusions. These aren't very common, but my god are they so good. They spice up forgiving towers while at the same time keeping the most important element, which is making them a one-time experience and not something to be grinded. The coolest one I've seen by far is when Tower of Nothing New told you that the next floor is dangerous, but there was absolutely no way to lose your run. And the thing is, if I didn't already know that part, I genuinely would have believed it. So in conclusion, all of this basically means that you're the one to choose if you're gonna make your tower punishing or not. As for me, I'd like to make a punishing tower one day because they're always an amazing experience to play, and I'd love to offer that same experience myself for others. But again, that choice is up to you as a builder to decide how your tower goes. Wanna know how my tower building process goes? Check out this video to see how I did in the tower jam.